Shall we talk about Alex Cross?
Yes, very,
Mm,
very exciting show. We said
God
we said it
damn this show.
last week that we feared this was going to be another banger from Prime.
Right, Dune Prophecy,
Yes.
episode 2. This show makes me feel very Zoomer. And I'm just excited for something fresh from DC.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it'll be nice to get the first proper look at this new DCU. I worry that they bring back maybe a certain pirate character or
Would
uh
he be alive? Is he alive? Is Hondo alive?
I think
Is it
so.
possible?
Now, a lot of people will know Trigger
I
because
recognised it, but I'm not a big anime head, so I have no
they
reference point.
were the studio that started Attack on Titan.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Cutscene Convos. This is episode 140 this week, which is just diabolical. And we've got a pretty busy episode.
Yeah.
We've got character profile on Rick Flag Sr. We will be discussing the Cross series, episodes 3, 4, and 5. We'll be discussing episode 2 of Dune Prophecy. We'll also be giving our preview for Creature Commandos and our preview for Skeleton Crew before the Nerd News Network, as always. But for all that good stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
My week's been very nocturnal.
Owler man.
Yeah, I mean, you know me well enough that I've always been semi-nocturnal. I've
Yeah,
always been up late as
you're
it
a night
is.
out for sure.
Yeah, so it's like switching to doing this temporary night shift stuff has been not an issue really. It's just the days off I stay in night shift mode. So
See,
yeah,
I think as a British person, you kind of have to be a little bit nocturnal because at this point of the year, there's like no sun anyway.
true. That is
Like,
true.
I'm not seeing more of the sun than you are at this point because by the time I get to work, the sun's barely up, and by the time I'm leaving work, the sun's already gone. Like,
Yeah. I wake up, see sun for like 3 hours, if that,
yeah,
and then just darkness.
yeah. So like, you're not losing out on more sun than I am or anything. So let it rip, you know.
It's funny. It's like obviously because I'm like going to bed at like 6 a.m., somewhere between 6 and 7. Obviously, no one is fucking awake after 2 o'clock.
No.
None of you lot are about to play games or anything, even if we like had games we were playing at the moment. But it means a lot of free time, which means a lot of binging shows. I've obviously Arcane finished this last
Yes.
weekend. I mean, I would be shocked if that doesn't win a fuck ton of awards. I personally think it deserves some Oscar for something, whether that's just art or the soundtrack,
Do the Academy give out any awards for
animated stuff. I don't know.
shows though? They do animated Oscars, but do they do anything for shows? Is it not
True.
exclusively films?
You could be right there.
It'll probably have a shot at the Emmys.
Yeah, it'll definitely have a shot at the Emmys. I, I think I think I talked about it last week, but like the price, the money spent is so fucking deserved. There was one bit of funny controversy with Netflix themselves.
Oh, okay.
It Netflix decided to use AI to expand one of the posters to better fit like the banner shape, and Riot obviously were not happy about that.
Yeah.
And said it was extremely disrespectful to the artist and got them to take it down, which they swiftly did when they got caught out.
That is such someone at a very low level realized that they didn't have quite the right size and they were just told to make it work, so they did.
Yeah. Which I think huge props to Riot for that. But like, yeah, the ending was incredible. And although this is the end of the Arcane series. Like it's only 2 seasons. They've
Yeah.
already the next season. The showrunner's revealed now, like doing interviews. The next show has already been in development for a year.
Awesome.
So there is plenty more to come. But yeah, definitely worth a watch. I fully recommend. Even if you're not into League of Legends, you will still understand everything and fully enjoy it.
I feel like that's a big thing I've seen was a lot of people going, this is actually too good for League of Legends because it's going to convince people to give League a try who are not going to enjoy the
It
game at all.
happened after season one. Everyone was like, "This is just propaganda." To the people that left League to bring them back in, and then people go, "Wow, I should try this League game. It's got really cool like characters." And then they're like, "This is hell. I'm in hell
Yeah.
now." I've also binged Shogun.
Oh, okay.
Binged the whole season of that.
Was it as good as we heard? I've not got around to it yet.
Yes, it is very good. I'm very much looking forward to the next season of that. But yeah, I can fully see why people were raving about it and
Why it
why it
just
went
won
up.
so
Yeah,
many awards.
oh, it's so well done. Really interesting story. And then I've also slowly, because there's many seasons of this, I've started binging Yellowstone, which I think I've
Oh,
talked to you about wanting to watch.
yeah, you mentioned it, and I've seen like TikToks and stuff of it. I'm like, it's
Yeah,
kind of interesting, but that kind of genre, that kind of like sub kind of cowboy genre, doesn't particularly appeal to me unless there's like something else that grabs me first.
let me sell you it this way. Because I was thinking, like, how do I explain this show to Connor? And this might be definitely a stretch of an example, a little bit. But
You know we
imagine,
love stretching
yeah,
examples here.
imagine Reacher
Okay.
settled down and opened a ranch,
Okay.
and instead of his squad, it's his family. So they're all like got that all together vibe, and several forces, both corporations or else, using dodgy methods to try and take this ranch away. And like Reacher, he does the just thing, not necessarily the lawful thing.
Got ya.
So there's quite a
Okay.
lot of action happens, especially in the end towards the end of season 3, which I've just watched. There was some wild action, but yeah, there's obviously it's all focused around this ranch and the cowboy lifestyle, but it is a lot about essentially what happens in the world of corporations see, oh, big plot of land, we want to take this and develop on it. Person doesn't want to give up this ranch, but fights back in not necessarily the most lawful ways of fighting back. So
Interesting.
it is good, and I can see why people enjoy it, and I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, there's 5 seasons, and I've just started season 4.
Fair enough.
But yeah, my week's been a lot of binging shows. How's your week been?
My week's been kind of busy. Just always busy at the minute. It seems it's just the nature of this time of year. Not been too bad though. Just been kind of big chilling a lot of the time. Trying to find after a busy enough weekend, it was trying to find the time to watch 2 more episodes of Reacher and Dune Prophecy, as well as like streaming. And I
Big
want to get my
cross.
50 wins on trying to get my 50 wins on Black Ops 6
Yeah.
multiplayer so that me and Wes can play ranked, because I'm convinced it's like hard coded that if I get 2 wins off the back, it's like we're now going to give you lobbies so horrific that you want to uninstall the game. Literally 3 days this week I've logged in. I've had 2 or 3 games of hardpoint because they're a game mode where in pubs you can kind of just solo the objective and still win.
Yeah.
Where we've won like 250 to 30 with me getting like 3-4 minutes of hill time. And then after that, I'm just putting lobbies where I've got a 6-man all running at the hill. I'm just like, oh no. Yeah, we finally got that done today, so that was good.
Nice.
Me and Wes can play rank tomorrow. Other than that, I've just been kind of just existing. It's very much a case of I know I've got a bit of time off next week, so I'm a little bit kind of on autopilot until that kicks in. I'm like, just get through today, just get through today, just get through tomorrow.
Fair.
Jenna's away this weekend, so gonna entertain myself somehow. Yeah, other than that, I'm pretty chill. Just been kind of trying to work out a lot of the plan for the rest of the year with my content and when we're going to do the episodes over
Yeah.
here to work out what we're going to do, because normally the way the episodes land, we end up doing one in between Christmas and New Year, but
Yeah.
that doesn't look logical this time round. So we're looking at like doing like a double
Yeah.
episode essentially, which means we need to have 2 episodes worth of stuff prepped and ready to go, and it's just
Yeah, it's we're doing like what people at jobs do is they plan for their Christmas break, but we're doing it for a podcast.
yeah. So I'm literally right now, and it probably explains why I feel so just get through today. I'm literally planning getting through the Christmas break at my job for my YouTube channel for this podcast,
Yeah.
all at the same time. I'm just like, I don't know, does this date work? And I'm like, I don't even know what for. But I'm just like, the 27th, does that work for anyone? Just into the fucking ether. But yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm enjoying hoodie weather again. I'm very happy that I can wear my
Yeah.
hoodies around again. I'm just like, yeah, this feels good. But yeah, just big fucking chilling, ready for Christmas. I'm firmly in that. Yeah, I want some sleigh bells ringing type beat for sure.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I'm looking forward to Christmas.
but let's get into our actual segments here.
Yeah,
So we've got Creature Commandos coming up in the not too distant future.
this is
So I
true.
thought I'd start us off with a character profile. Just to ease any confusion off the bat as well. Suicide Squad had Rick Flag in it.
Mm,
That is Rick Flag Jr.
right,
Creature Commandos has Rick Flag Sr., which is played by Frank Grillo.
right,
This character profile is on Rick Flag Sr.
right.
It's a little bit confusing. You'll get it. World War II pilot turned Suicide Squadron founder Richard Rick Flag Sr. first appeared in Secret Origins Volume 2, Number 14 in May of 1987. Making a name for himself as a hardened and committed to the cause soldier, Rick Flag Sr.'s military service as an ace fighter pilot in World War II led to him being chosen to take over and train an expendable team of convicted soldiers known as the Suicide Squadron. With Flag's training, the team became more competent and efficient. However, the nature of missions left to this team of undesirable misfits left Rick losing most of his team time after time. At the end of the Second World War, Rick would go on to marry Sharon Race, who he was introduced to via a friend. They went on to have a son who was named Rick Flag Jr. But in 1951, President Truman asked Flag to return to active duty by creating the Suicide Squad, the successor of Flag's wartime Suicide Squadron under the Task Force X banner. Flag would go on to train them and instill the same ideas in them as his original team. When his son was just 8 years old, his wife died saving his son from a speeding car. This devastated Flag Sr. and made him even more dedicated to the mission. Eventually, 2 years after his wife's death, his time on the Suicide Squad would come to an end as he sacrificed himself to destroy a dangerous weapon. Obviously, his son, Rick Flag Jr., would go on to also join the Suicide Squad and kind of assume his father's role as the military guy in charge of the criminals. What's interesting to me about this is the fact that this kind of concept goes all the way back to World War II when the world was in such hell. It was kind of, we've got to do whatever we can do.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, here's a bunch of criminals who, like, no one really cares if they die in the war. We're going to send you out on suicide missions and just, you're a fucking rock hard pilot. You'll get shit done. You'll make sure they stay in line, blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
It's interesting to me, though, that it really comes across that Rick Flag Sr. didn't look down on any of the Suicide Squad members. He was like, right, you've been forced to do this, but I'm going to make sure that I give you everything necessary to survive this, and then get your pardons at the end of it.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting because it also goes on. You can see how that then distills in his son, who is a pretty fair character. And then for those who've seen James Gunn's Suicide Squad, despite being a loyal servant of the US government, he's also not naive enough to believe that they never do anything wrong, which ends up being quite, I think, important.
Yeah.
But there we go. That is so Rick Flag Sr. is going to be the commander in chief during the Creature Commando show. So it'd be interesting to see how he differs from Rick Flag Jr.
Yeah.
Especially considering, obviously, in the comic books, he was fighting in World War II. That's clearly not going to have been the case in this. So I wonder if we'll get any indication as to what war he fought in. Maybe the Vietnam War.
I was gonna say, Nam is usually the go-to, isn't it?
Someone play Fortunate Son. Awesome. Shall we talk about Alex Cross?
Yes. Very, very exciting show. We said it last week that we feared this was going to be another banger from Prime.
Yeah.
And in just the first 2 episodes, we were like, "Oh, this is getting spicy." They ramped it up pretty hard over the next 3 episodes.
They've there's some sick fucks working on this show.
There's some true crime lovers. They've read plenty of true crime novels and know.
You know, like you hear the joke of like how a writer and a serial killer search history could be easily confused.
Yeah.
I feel like the butt of all them jokes where the writer gets their front door kicked in is these writers, because how they come up with some of this stuff is just. And I mean, it's insane that with 3 full episodes to go, Cross has already solved like the main case.
He's figured it out. He just needs to now prove it.
With the whole world being against him.
Well, yeah, especially now the whole world is against him. Yeah,
so,
go on.
When I sent you the message going, they're real sick fucks for that, talking about episode 4.
Yes.
What did you think I meant? Because there were some other fucked up bits that went on a little bit after I sent that message.
I presumed it was the karaoke.
Yes, okay, cool.
Because even I was like, out of everything.
Do you know what? So this is the most gut-wrenching part of that for me. He didn't want to do the karaoke because obviously it had horrific memories of his wife not being there. I get it. His girlfriend kind of semi-tricks him into doing it, and he decides to give it a chance, and it's all going beautifully.
Yeah.
And I'm sat here going, oh, they're going to play the last song now, and that's going to be his wife's song, and that's going to be a bit too much for him.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then it doesn't work. And I'm like, oh, did he like delete it from there so it wouldn't happen? And then it says 911, what's your emergency? And I instantly, in that moment, turned around and I'm like, that sick fuck. How? No. That is the most evil thing I could think of.
I was exactly the same like line of thinking as you. I was like, oh, he's having a good time. There's gonna accidentally do what they like, end it on the song that they always used to end, and it's the one that like is his wife's song, and it's gonna like when he tested
the groundwork had already been laid for that earlier on with him having to pull the machine out.
Yeah, he tested it, and then he was like, it was too much, and he pulled the plug. I thought that was gonna happen, and it was gonna be either this is too much for him, and he stops it, or it is gonna be that thing that like helps him take the first step,
break through a little bit, yeah.
And then when it didn't work, I was like, oh. But I was stun locked when it went 911, and then you start to realize, and they like obviously they wrote it so well in like the show of having them all freeze and holding on that, letting it play for that long, because you would.
What could you do? Yeah,
in the moment,
stun locked.
Yeah, everyone's stun locked, and the viewer's stun locked, and you're just like, that is the most horrible thing. That is like one of the evilest ways to fuck with someone. Like we've already seen that this person has started to fuck with it, like with the hidden scarf and the different, like the they're playing games with him to like, this feels like, oh, you took this a step. That this is past just someone being up. This is someone that clearly hates him.
This is a whole other level. Like we spoke, like going back to what our bread and butter is, comic books. We've spoken about the level of hate reverse flashes. This is some reverse flash bullshit.
Yes, yes, this is.
This is exactly that same vein, like Reverse Flash going back through Barry's childhood.
Maybe he's got a twin
and
brother.
making it so that he could never have like any friends or anything. This
is.
is that level of hater. It's like, oh, I managed to get the recording of you calling us because your wife was dying, and I'm gonna play it so your children can hear it. Vile, evil. And then the reason I second guess myself is later on in the episode, fucking the fanboy fuckface starts chiseling at her teeth.
So, okay, so that to me wasn't necessarily like as evil of an act as the karaoke machine. Don't get me wrong, very horrible thing to do, but like emotion, like it didn't hit me in the same emotionally. Like holy shit, it was to me the teeth thing was like I can't look. This is it was making me wince because just the idea of here's the thing, he'd inject her so she would be numb. Obviously, we all know at the dentist, you get numb, you still feel the vibrations, not necessarily, you might not feel the pain, but the idea of feeling the like thumps, and then it just the pressure going as it breaks it off. I was like, oh
yeah, it's what that's one of the parts of your bodies where when you see it happen, you do kind of wince in the same way. But what I will say, episode 5, I know we're jumping all over the place. We'll go back up. Episode 5, I will be amazed if episode 5 is not my favourite episode of this series by the end. Because that episode, the way it's put together, phenomenal.
Of them kind of playing each other.
The cat and mouse game in the middle of the season, and all of the development for both sides of the story that happen. Like, in another world, that episode is a bottle episode. Now, this show has enough budget that it didn't need to do a bottle episode, but in another world, this episode is a bottle episode with a smaller cast and less people in like 1 or 2 rooms. But my god, it was so good, and I've got some thoughts about that, but we won't jump ahead to that just yet.
So obviously we've got the 2 stories.
Yes.
I think with the one of who killed his wife and who's now fucking with him. Last week we made some predictions.
And it's FBI lady.
So you were like, FBI lady could be or girlfriend.
L. Yeah, I was like, L or FBI lady were my leading suspects.
And then I was like, could also be someone from past case, and we came up with the idea that whatever this prominent case was that he'd had. I now think we can rule off girlfriend.
Yes,
because
so do I.
Even though someone might be sick enough to do that, I don't think they're also sick enough to be in the room singing the karaoke while it happens.
If it ends up being L, I will be upset and shocked. And I'll also have questions like, okay, so how did they pull off the scarf thing and stuff like that?
Well,
my leading theory is the FBI girl. She's got... How does she know exactly where he is? She's had little hints at like, oh, you got a lot of popularity from that case. I didn't. And
who would be able to get pulled?
She put the hair thread from the wheelchair lady in it, who also worked a case with Cross, which got her a bit more successful. So maybe she's like, she got to be successful from working with you. You got to be successful. Where's my big bump in notoriety?
I think it's either the FBI lady or she's working for someone. Like she's a dirty cop sort of thing.
She's kind of like the Bobby for the other person.
She's being instructed to do these things to fuck with him. But yeah, I think the big thing for me was like, who is going to be able to pull a police record of a phone call? That's not like a simple thing to get hold of. FBI could pull that.
Absolutely, they could.
I still, because obviously Alex Cross's theory is, after talking to the wheelchair attorney lady, is that it's this potentially this person off this case that said he ruined her life. I think, and I said this last week, this season, they're gonna somehow link it to her. Like it's gonna be like the FBI lady falsely links it to her. So they say there's enough evidence, prove so in a court of law it's proven that it was her doing this. They put her away more or do something like, and they're like, okay, we've solved it. But actually going into next season, it's not solved and it's going to come back again. I think it's going to be this idea that like they think they've solved who it was this season, but they won't actually have. And maybe we get a teaser that the real person hasn't stopped. It's yeah, it's very creepy. Like the clues being left are like obviously forced clues to lead them a certain way, which is why I think they're going to get led to a false person, blame them, and
I think this person is supposed to be Cross's like Moriarty equivalent.
hmm.
I'm not saying that Cross is like a parody of Sherlock Holmes, but
Yeah, I know what you mean.
when you look back at like writing, obviously themes throughout, and Moriarty is like the quintessential nemesis.
Hmm.
And I do think that if they're trying to do multiple seasons of this show, having Cross trying to deal with finding the person who got his wife and is taunting him while also dealing with a high profile case each season is a very nice kind of feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that would make sense for this. And I completely agree that the season ended with him getting evidence that really makes it look like it's someone, and then it being revealed that this is just the beginning is going to be a very, very good way to get everyone to go, oh, I need season 2 right now.
Yeah.
The acting in this show has been phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. So
everyone
good.
is selling it so well.
It's been so well done. The fanboy is so creepy.
So, I'll be honest. The first 4 episodes, I was like, he's definitely a bit weird. He's definitely a bit creepy, but he's giving more like Patrick Bateman in American Psycho. In it's all just about the power, and he's not weird. He's just a fucking psycho. And then in episode, like towards the end of episode 4 and episode 5, you see that he's also fucking weird. And then he's got that really. This is the bit that set me over the edge with this fucking dude. So at the end of episode 4, we see the mask, and he's like giving a speech to whoever.
Yeah.
And then he's getting ready for his party in episode 5, and he puts the mask on, and he's just got some. And I'm like, I know prostitute. Well, I don't know prostitutes. Well, I'm aware that conceptually prostitutes will kind of do whatever you pay for.
Yeah.
As a prostitute, surely it sets off like an internal alarm where a guy's like, oh, you come round to my house, I'm going to wear a hyper-realistic fake latex mask and you're going to sort me out.
Here's the thing.
Like, surely you're just like, I'm going to put you in my little black book of, if I die, this client probably did it.
Here's the thing. If you pay enough, also, if they're dealing with those sort of rich clients, they've probably seen worse or dealt with worse. Yeah. But yeah, no, the mask to do the secret, like, dark web fucking Discord server.
Such a fucking 4chan user, fuck's sake.
I was like, oh, okay, so it's like hiding. And I'm like, this mask has to be. I'm like, is this another serial killer's face?
That mask is going to be important.
That he's like, has this obsession with. But then when he put it on, and I'm like in the bathroom, I was like, no way he's going to his birthday with this on. And then it showed I was like, oh no, he's just got a weird power fixation with this mask.
Yeah. Makes him feel important.
Obviously, we've learned through these 3 episodes that it's not about just imitating what the serial killers have done. He's creating a Bible about serial killing.
The mystery being his motivation is so compelling. It's like, yeah, we know he's the bad guy. Yeah, we know Alex is onto him. And we've got this cat and mouse game, which is fun. But you are also, as a viewer, sat there going, okay, but why?
What's his end goal?
Yeah.
And which Alex then thinks he's figured out, he's got, like, has realised, oh, this is not about the murder, it's about the book. And now we're like, oh, we get a bit more understanding of the viewer. It's like, oh, that's why he's so bothered about having the book back. It's
The
something really important to this final reveal or something that he's going
yeah.
to do.
And this is the thing, the beauty of the dual parallel of the storytelling, some of it being Alex's perspective, some of it being Ed's perspective,
Mm.
is it allows them to always hide stuff from us, the viewer.
Mm-hmm.
Like them bugging the book so that when it gets taken, they know about it.
Yeah. Well,
And when you're just from someone's point of view the whole time, if the main character does something that you don't know they've done, you're kind of like, well, why didn't we see that? Or why didn't they allude to that?
Mm.
But when you do a dual narrative, you're like, oh, we were with Ed when Alex did that. That makes complete sense. You don't question it. And that allows them to have twists from both characters
Mm.
at all times. What I will say is, in I didn't mean to do this, but in American Psycho, when Willem Dafoe comes to interview Christian Bale, the famous
Yes.
story is they filmed that interview scene in 3 times.
Mm.
One in which Willem Dafoe suspects Bateman's the killer,
Mm-hmm.
one where he knows Bateman is the killer, and
Mm-hmm.
one where he doesn't suspect Bateman at all. And then in post, they cut them in together to leave the viewer not sure,
Yeah.
like to give that feeling of uncertainty that Bateman had.
Yeah.
It felt like at times they did that with some of the interactions between Cross and Ramsey in episode 5. I'm not saying they did the exact same style, they might have literally just told them keep it a bit up in the air, but there were times where it felt like maybe Alex wasn't as confident anymore, or Ramsey was certain that Cross knew it was him and then didn't know it was him. And I don't know again if they were just like having fun with like acting a game of cat and mouse, or if they intentionally did like an American Psycho style thing of we're gonna act this a couple of different ways and then in post we're gonna make it
Mm.
feel, because there are times where they're almost having a genuinely friendly conversation. And then there are times where you're certain that they're just about to start throwing hands at each other, and it's just this beautiful, like it's
I
literally a game
think
of chess the entire
they
episode.
they also did a really good job in episode 5 of like Alex going in there pretty cool headed of like, okay, I'm just gonna try and goad him a little bit, like basically try and loosely say I'm onto you, see if he reacts to try and confirm my thoughts. But then it's like as the evening goes on, Alex is he's already shown to us what sort of person he is, but like he loses that initial
Edge.
plan, and I think it starts when he gets the call about the mum, and then he's like, I'm gonna go start searching a room. And when he's in the room, I'm like, you're doing too much. I was sat here like, why are you in here searching? You're gonna get caught. This is like the most obvious thing that's about to happen. You're gonna get caught. And it's like, you're going too deep too quickly. And then I think it's in that moment when he gets caught, obviously by Ed. And it's like, they then both were like, oh, he is this guy. And Ed's like, oh, you know, but we're in a place where this can't come out yet. So we're
Exactly.
just
They're
gonna
just constantly trying to. The entire time it's just I want to have the upper hand. So he's like, "Oh, I heard you like Pappy Van Winkle because I know stuff," and it's like, "Oh, this is." So that's a nod to the book. So I know that for a fact. In the books, it is like very much
right.
a written thing that his favorite whiskey is Pappy Van Winkle. But yeah, and that's what I love. After that
So,
kind of get caught and that like generic kind of I've caught you lurking. It literally the rest of the episode is just I'm gonna get the up hand, then I'm gonna get the up, and then it just reaches this boiling point. The one thing that pissed me off, but it does make sense. It's not a plot hole, but it still pissed me off. When the lady breaks free,
oh, when he smashes
and
the bottle, and I straight away I was like, oh, that glass is going to be an issue for him.
well, no. I mean, when she's actually broken free.
Oh, and she's running.
She should have just twatted him over the head. She shouldn't have threatened to stab him, because a heavy bottle like that, which expensive bottles would have just knocked him unconscious.
Yeah.
But then the old lady, I get at first her being terrified and not saying anything. But when she gets back into the party and Cross starts going, he's a fucking murderer. All she has to do is go. I saw a lady, and she just starts freaking out a little bit. Going, like, no, he's right. I know that he has evidence that her husband is a nonce.
I was going to
I
say
know
that's what
that
he's holding
that is
over
how
her.
they kind of push it away. Once you accuse this guy of being a murderer, and they go find the bloodied victim, even if he goes, her husband's a nonce, no one is going to believe him.
I think it's more not that he will be the one that says it. He obviously was the reason that Alex's video got released.
Yeah, it was Bobby that released it.
I think it'd be the same situation of if she said
Maybe
he'd just release pictures, whatever evidence he has, and go straight to press that, and then that's her and her husband's career is destroyed. I think that's because that's usually what happens. It's not that like they are the one that's going to go to the press and tell or the police. They have stuff that they'll release and it does it for them.
Okay, but counterpoint. Just logically, and again, I'm not saying it's plot hole because, like, at the end of the day, a human's thought process in that moment stops it being a plot hole. But logically, if he was to get arrested and be charged as the fanboy killer and all the media circus around that, do you think he's going to have the time or forethought to go to someone and go, release the nonce files? Because he'll have dirt like that on everyone. Does he just burn everyone? Probably not.
Depends. It depends. That's the sort of thing where you're like, we don't know if he's put in, if I ever get caught, you release all this.
Yeah, maybe.
Like some
I mean,
people,
there's clearly people in on it because you have like people with the tattoos and stuff.
Like people that in these sorts of shows that do that usually have like they say to them, it's like, if I die and don't come out or someone doesn't hear from me, this all gets released anyway. Yeah. And it's usually they have contingencies in place. I think it's also, she's clearly one of those that is in a rich, high power position. He obviously donates a lot of money or does a lot. And it's like, doesn't want to lose that position of power herself. So
absolutely.
Morally willing to look the other way, even if he's being like, she sees more benefit in what he's giving her and not ignoring what he's doing than siding with Cross.
But this episode really showed the two sides of the same coin of Cross and Ramsey. They're both obsessed with being the best at what they do, and they feel like what they're doing is valid, which means they have to be right. It's literally like he's obsessed with winning. It's all a game to him. He has to win. And she's like, oh, that's just him, is it? It's like, Cross is the exact same. He has to win. But the culmination of that episode and like the bubbling to like the big someone literally seeing the victim and staying quiet still is just wow.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that the girl as well was like, she was so confused. I'm like, just fucking run out of there. Why are you taking your time? And then always the case, they run down the fucking dead end corridor to a door that's locked. It's also at that party, the like police commissioner woman, so corrupt.
Yes. Yes.
I can't wait to see her go down.
Her downfall is going to be tasty. She might not be like implicit in the murder levels of corrupt, but she's definitely not straight-laced. She's definitely got some skeletons in that closet, and she's definitely willing to bend the rules for her own gain to the point where I'm like, yeah, you're gonna.
Well, yeah, she also said like she's gonna try and move up the ladder. She's all she cares about is her public appearance. I think this season will end with Alex making her admit that she had early knowledge and essentially destroying her public image, that she has to step down.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And it is going to hit like crack when it happens.
Yeah.
But I said to you, this show is racing towards like an all-timer spot.
Oh, yeah.
If you pull off 3 seasons of this caliber of TV, you're absolutely an all-timer.
Yeah, I
mean, don't get me wrong, it's not easy to pull off 3 seasons of this caliber of TV. But, as I said to you, As being a sports fan like I am, it's impressive from a rookie season.
Yeah, and I mean, we always say this, that we don't want to praise Amazon,
No, fuck Amazon.
but goddamn, do they know how to pick good shows?
Okay, so I'm gonna take this back to a kind of, I'm gonna call it a bear reference, even though it's just a food reference.
Okay.
There's a couple of ways to make a successful restaurant logically.
Mm.
You sell cheap food, so you get cheap ingredients and you don't fuck with them, and it'll be okay. Then you've got the high-end restaurants, which are very expensive, and that is high-quality ingredients and good chefs.
Mm.
Then the other decent option is kind of a mid-range restaurant. You get good ingredients and you don't fuck with it, and then you can't mess it up.
Mm.
That's kind of what Amazon seem to be doing. They're going out and getting tried and tested IPs. Invincible, one of the most best-selling indie comics.
Yeah.
Then you've got Reacher, incredibly successful book series. Cross, incredibly successful book series. Vox Machina, tried and tested, proven IP that puts
the
butts
biggest
in
D&D series online.
Then they've gone, here's how much money we're going to give you to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of just step away. Yeah, they'll give deadlines. And they might have a little bit of like editorial, like, we'd really like it if you didn't make a company called Famazon the bad guy. But like, do you know what I mean? Apart from that, they seem to be pretty hands off on the editorial. They're like, here you go, do this. This is how many episodes we want. This is when we want it by. Leave it. They are being a distributor more than a producer, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I mean, I guess they're being more of a traditional producer. Here's the money. Here's when I need it by. Get it done.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of doing what like Netflix and Disney are trying to do, which is try to be the distributor, the producer, the studio, the writer.
Yeah.
And then that can lead to everything feeling samey or lots of internal conflict, because when you're at a company, people are going to have different interests in what they want to get out of something. So when you've got the writer, the producer, the person writing the checks, and the distributor all on the same payroll, there's more headbutting there, as well as like in-house fighting. If you've got Cross and Reacher sat in the same office in studio, the writers might have a bit of like, oh well, I want to be the number one crime show on the platform. Whereas when it's just, we're just going to distribute it and pay you for it. Well, right, well, we're going to go to Studio 123 and we're going to go to Studio ABZ and we're going to let them do their thing and they're going to make it their own way. And they're just worried about making the best thing they can make.
Do you know what's funny? When you think about it, Amazon's done with Prime Video what Amazon is, which is just a distribution platform. It lets other brands come on and sell their product and they'll ship it for them quickly so the customer gets... They've done the same for this, like you're saying. They're just, you come with the idea, we give the money, you make it, we'll put it out there for you.
The only difference really is there's a bit more financial risk, obviously because of the scale of the projects, but also when you sell via Amazon, me and you could start selling fucking beanies via Amazon, and that doesn't cost Amazon anything unless we sell something.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, they're going, here is a chunk of money, and we're going to hope to recoup that. But yeah, you're exactly right. They've gone, we're really good at distributing, so that's what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, props, like, I'm always willing to give the whoever's in charge of the Prime Video props for knowing how to run this well and give us good shows by not getting too involved.
Absolutely. You cannot knock their ability to spot a good IP that is not like, that has no distribution rights at the minute and go, right, we can do something with that. Because I'm not being funny. This what they've done with Reacher and Cross is what TV and film did for fucking decades. Before they got like their 6 IPs, that they run with.
Yeah.
This is what they do. Like, this is exactly like the obviously being so close to Harry Potter tour. They talk about it at the tour. There is like videos with different people involved in it. It was like, oh well, I was the intern at the film studio office at the time before it was Warner Bros. Who owned it. And we had a bookshelf with different books everyone had to read to see if there was anything worth trying to get the rights for.
Mm.
And Harry Potter sat on the bottom shelf for 6 months before it was eventually given to me as the intern to read. And then the intern came in on Monday over the moon with it and was like, I really think you guys need to read it. Then they all took it and read it hard, and they were like, yeah, no, let's go and get this option. This is how shit used to run. Amazon have gone, that still works.
Do you know what's funny as well?
The
Amazon
first
started off as
book,
books.
yeah, the first cross book came out in 1993.
Yeah, there you go then.
They tried to make a film in 2001 with Morgan Freeman. Apparently, it didn't do that well, but it was okay.
I saw probably only okay because it had Morgan Freeman in it.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman probably acted the hell out of it. Phenomenal. Like, it's been there ready for the taking. The only other thing I'm going to say that is tangentially related to Cross, the actor playing Cross, Aldous Hodge. So, this is very tangential. Stick with me.
Okay.
A lot of people weren't happy with the Green Lantern casting for the DCU.
Yeah.
Because, and we are not qualified to speak about it, I'm just stating facts here, because the actor that's been cast is quite light-skinned, whereas Jon Stewart has always been a dark-skinned man.
Got you.
And at the time when he was created in the 80s, he was deliberately written to be dark-skinned in a very kind of fuck you to the authority way.
Yeah.
So, and while I don't understand the nuances of it, as it's not something I've never had to deal with personally, that has left a lot of people feeling quite uncomfortable about it. I'm not quite sure where the lines are drawn. I don't think people are worried about his acting ability. It's more about you don't quite fit the part, and when we already struggle with getting the right amount of representation for people, losing out on more dark-skin representation is a problem.
Yeah.
And a big name that people were throwing about for Jon Stewart was Aldous Hodge. Being a much darker skinned man, having voiced Jon Stewart in animated projects, I'm like, I see why people would want that. Having now watched him in this show, I'm like, I absolutely see why people were adamant that it should be his role.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him.
I could see him playing Space Cop.
Yeah, transferring this sort of vibe.
Especially when we know the Lanterns show is going to be like a true detective style show.
Yeah.
I see why people were a little bit pissed off that he didn't get the role.
I know we're now kind of in an era where the superhero, if you're signed up to one of them, you can be doing other projects. But I wonder if, knowing he was doing Cross, if they've promised him like a long running, like if there's just a bit of conflict of being able to do both. That could be, like, obviously we don't know, that's just making guesses, but both would be potentially are going to be long running things that, or long running roles. So who knows?
Just an interesting thing to know that it's always difficult to tell, but I think the criticism that maybe Aldous Hodge should have been given the role is maybe valid.
That's fair.
Right, Dune Prophecy.
Yes.
Episode 2.
I feel like it was an improvement from episode 1.
Yeah.
It still has a bit of... It's not so much the pace. I think what it is, sort of what we touched on last week, of like, it is just a different vibe, a different pace to the films. And that's not a bad thing. It's just still kind of feels like a weird adjustment.
This show makes me feel very Zoomer.
Oh, because you're struggling to concentrate.
No, not so much that. So you know how, like, despite technically being Gen Z, I am very much not Gen Z in basically every aspect of my life.
You like to say so, but
the a lot of like the meme complaints that people throw about Zoomers, I genuinely kind of see as valid complaints about this show. Like the big one recently that I have been massively against was like Gen Z say there's too much pointless sex in TV, and I'm like, sex is a valid part of the human experience. Taking it out of media would be dumb and pointless.
Yeah.
This feels very much like Game of Thrones back in 2010 and 12 and 13 had lots of sex, and that made it really popular. So we want to do that again. And like, I don't think the scene was completely pointless, where like the prince and the princess are doing it and he spills the
Inside a
information.
massive
Like,
tree.
yeah, like I get like the logic of that is when you're vulnerable and you're more likely to let something slip.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of like, oh, we're gonna slip your boob here because we can. They didn't need to do that.
It's
And it's just like it just feels like it really, really, really feels like they've gone, let's do Game of Thrones in space rather than let's do Dune on TV.
I would agree. So I don't know if it's necessarily like let's do Game of Thrones in space. I think they've gone into this with like the story they want to tell for Dune, and it's like how come like let's approach the Dune universe in a TV aspect, and they're doing this like royal families, political stories, and like the usual medieval royal families fighting for power. And they've, like you said, they have taken what they learned from Game of Thrones, what they saw work in Game of Thrones, what partly helped blow it up into this like cultural show that everyone was watching because it was like, oh, they're like, don't shy away from nudity and gore and like all this. They're like, oh, royal families and political things, a lot of that happens around sex. This is just the same thing, but it's just sci-fi medieval because it's royal families and stuff again. Oh, let's use those same things in this. They've kind of lent on things that they did in Game of Thrones as storytelling techniques in this. And it's like straight away I was like, this I can tell this is a HBO show. Every time I was like, this is a HBO show. Like this is Game of Thrones. They want this to be Game of Thrones. Like we've
Here's the
been
thing,
saying.
and let me be completely clear. Sex absolutely does have a valid place in this storytelling because, yeah, this is what it's about. It does feel quite weird when obviously June has such little sex because of the nature of the world they're on. It's like there is like one sex scene in Dune, and that's supposed to be a big moment because it's like, wow, any kind of sweat or bodily fluids is incredibly important to survival, so you're not gonna just waste it.
Yeah.
So I think that makes it like an even more jarring jump from Dune. But again, a lot of what makes Dune feel unique is its unique color palette and its visual style and the lack of dialogue in a lot of ways. Like every word is meaningful.
Yeah.
And where the Batman to the Penguin has kept themes the same, although the cinematography isn't as excellent because it's on a smaller budget, it
Yeah.
feels like it knows where it is.
Yeah, it's still
And it's
totally
trying
fits.
exactly. And the storytelling is consistent. And I know this is based on a different book by a different author 10,000 years ago in the canon on a different planet. That jump is really, really drastic. And I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm saying it's too early for me to tell whether I like. There's a lot of yapping. There's a lot of yapping. And I'm saying, like, we released a 3-hour podcast not even 2 weeks ago, and I'm sat here going, there's a lot of yapping.
I know what you mean. I think the tough thing is it's such a contrast to the films.
Yes.
In like the vibe of what is going, like the meat of the show is different. The sex scenes is like, I don't think they're overly, like, I can understand why they're done. They have their story place. I think anyone who's watched a lot of Game of Thrones, like me, will have seen it and gone, you're just trying to be Game of Thrones. This is like, because it's almost like, oh, I know I'm watching HBO. This has kind of become their style of show, which it
And don't get me wrong,
hasn't.
HBO
But
for a long time has always been like the American broadcaster that isn't afraid of like showing a bit of partial nudity. Like there's a lot of memes on the
mm,
internet of like when you were 12 years old and your parents got HBO for the first time. Like there is like a lot of that stuff that's always been the place where like these mature themes
yeah,
are dealt with, and that's fine. But it just adds. It's not the only. It's not a problem. It just adds to such a drastic flip from the films we've come from.
yeah. Uh, I think there is a lot of potential there. Like, there's a very interesting story here of how the families are going to gain their power and
Yeah.
what this the first like Messiah guy
Yeah.
is.
What
This who
what's this?
he's leading up to be? Is this what then they are trying to recreate when it comes to Paul? There's like, is this something that started this whole plan of trying to find the next one of these? Um, yeah, this whole mysterious character who has some weird ass internal combustion.
I need more exposition about how the fuck he's doing what he's doing. Like if this series ends without us knowing how he's setting people on fire without touching them, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I
Because it also looks like it hurts him a little bit.
so I think it's obviously a concentration thing. Like, it's like a
Obviously, is he rolling D20 to see if he keeps his
well,
concentration?
I think it's just a case of like um obviously, like, he has a certain, it takes a certain strength, internal mental strength to do it. On a kid it was easy for him because it's small. Like, on the we didn't see what it was like for him to do it to the Benny Gesserit woman, because
Yes.
we didn't get to, we just saw it from her, what happened to her spontaneously combusting. When he did it to the Duke, he obviously was like more so trying to also control it and not just go straight to kill him as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what it was like he was trying to slowly do it. So there was more like focus on what he was doing. But yeah, there's obviously some mental tax to trying to do it. Um, it has to do, it's surely it's got something to do with the life water, eternal water, whatever. I forget what that blue.
Yeah. I
Because
assume so, but why can't Paul do that shit? Or can Paul do that shit?
maybe he
Like,
can, but he hasn't figured it out yet.
he hasn't unlocked it yet. He's not got deep enough in his skill tree.
Yeah, he's not leveled up enough. Um, yeah, we don't like this idea that this soldier was eaten, spat out, and had powers. I like this whole mystery around this prophecy of like when the granddaughter of the high priestess woman did that,
Yeah.
whatever, the awakening they called it, and she's told it's a man born twice, and like explains more about this. I'm like, okay, so this is this soldier guy. He's been born again. He now has those powers, and like they're building up this prophecy that's like some mystery, which then obviously the Bene Gesserit are clearly going to latch onto.
Yes.
Um, I
I'm very
like
curious.
I liked the moment when the main woman used the voice on the soldier guy, and he was taking it out. I was like, oh shit, it's working on him. I'm like, surely he's gonna like, is he gonna show him like start to try to resist it? And then he's holding it at his throat, and when she's like plunging into your throat a second time, I was like, oh, he's faking it. He's fucking with her. And then
He's faking it. I think he
nah,
was like just strong enough to resist it.
I think he was faking it.
Oh, okay. That's an
I
interesting
Because he
idea.
knows that like their whole thing is control. I think he was going along with it to make her think that she's, and then he was like doing that to then fake it, and then it's like, you never had any fucking control over me.
I'm also really curious about the House of Atreides. How does your man go from just being a soldier to being one of the great houses?
So,
That I'm curious about how that develops.
well,
Does he
so
like marry
oh,
up and
you
then
mean the
marry up and then marry
swordsman?
up? Yeah.
So, what we're told in that first episode was it was House Atreides that defeated the AI.
Yeah.
So I think House Atreides must be still a strong house, and his swordsmen, like swordsmen are seen as great swordsmen, so that's why he's in
Oh,
another
so he's been like sent as
sent.
almost like a gift.
Yeah, you're gonna train up.
Oh, okay.
I think is how I would take that. My
Maybe.
more thought is like, how does House Atreides go from being a great house to essentially, we know they become like a navy and they're a strong force, but they had to kind of grind their way to that, and then they're betrayed by everyone.
I wonder if it's a little bit of. So they got a lot of notoriety from ending the war.
Hmm.
And then obviously he's kind of like semi planning to revolt against the Emperor.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that happens and it brings like the new Emperor, which gives them a bit more. And they like maybe over the course of 10,000 years, they're seen as a fast riser. I know
Hmm.
that sounds crazy to us, but if you think about the scale of this
Yeah.
universe, and then the other houses are like, but at the same time, the Harkonnens haven't even really cracked on with much yet. They don't seem to be a big player
I
yet.
well, I think they're about to, right? Because he is the prince, the king or whatever at the moment, emperor. He is Harkonnen, right? I'm pretty sure.
No.
I thought they
See,
were.
this is what I mean. It's compared to Dune, it's a lot more confusing for no
Yeah,
reason.
because there's so many different names. I think he is because their princess that they were going to train was saying was Harkonnen. No,
There was a
I can't.
Harkonnen at the ball.
The Harkonnen is one of the priestess ladies.
Yes, yeah, no. So the current High Priestess,
Is a Harkonnen.
who is
Yeah.
a Harkonnen.
So I think Harkonnen's got to be something to do with like she gets her bloodline in somehow.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the I think House Atreides still has this notoriety, but this rebellion thing or whatever is gonna kind of sully their name a little bit, which is why they get pushed down the pecking order, build themselves back up. And I think because of what's happened in the past, like you said, they gain notoriety and they're worried. I think what we saw with Paul was they're basically worried they're going to get too strong and do the same again, so they got rid of him quicker.
Yeah.
But yeah, the political storyline has a lot of potential here.
Oh,
It's
it
just
really
it is
does.
very like dense feeling compared to like through dialogue and stuff compared to the films, but because they're just such a contrast.
Like, I don't want to say the show's badly written because I don't think it is, but the films do also have a lot of dense political stuff to get through. But it cuts through it like butter in the films, and it's like, okay, cool. You got House Atreides, you got the Harkonnens. House Atreides being forced to take over Arrakis, which should be a high honor, but it doesn't seem like it really is because the Harkonnens are fucking brutal and they don't want to give up and they don't want to
Mm.
lose control over a planet that's worth galactic billions and trillions and quadrillions and shit. Like, also very dense politically, but a lot more digestible. And I don't know
I think that's because
what's kind of gone wrong here.
I think in my opinion, it's like in the films, it's the political information we get is houses versus houses, and yes, there's the like head figures, but we in the show we're getting multiple characters from houses, all each kind of having these different political moves that they make. We're seeing the intricate moves rather than just a house has been promoted to take over a planet while other got demoted. Oh, now that house is angry and is going to take it back. We're seeing, oh, this duke is offering ships for this, but also marrying it. It's like we're seeing there's a lot more like overlapping threads of political stories, and I think that makes it feel really dense. And like we're saying, we're getting confused with names and stuff.
Yeah,
It's a lot heavier on the small details, which is then harder to kind of keep up on.
exactly. But I'm not at all saying I'm not enjoying it. But
No, I
it's
think.
still up in the air for me. There's definitely a lot of potential upside to it, and I really hope it manages to release that fully.
Hmm.
But I can also see a world where I end up a little bit disappointed at the end of the series if they don't get their ducks in a row properly.
Yeah, I think we need to see a big political move or something like exciting in that sense in the next episode or so, and then it like end on like a pretty pivotal
Yes,
push for power from a certain someone or reveal of like who the fuck this soldier is. Like we just it's still a lot of talking about. We need some like big story moment to start happening.
I completely agree. Right, let's get into some previews.
Yes.
So, first and foremost, the Creature Commanders preview.
Hmm.
The first James Gunn DCU project.
Yep. And first animated DCU project.
Yeah. So, just because it's the first DCU project, we'll do a little bit like DCU clarity at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
The plan for the DCU is that it will include films, TV shows, both live action and animated,
Mm-hmm.
video games,
Mm-hmm.
and anyone cast in one of them will retain their role across all mediums.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, Frank Grillo, who played Crossbones in the MCU,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the Shield agents who became a Hydra agent,
Mm-hmm.
is playing Rick Flag Sr. in Creature Commandos. He was also on set for Superman as Rick Flag Sr.
Okay.
So that's the idea. This is the first project that is officially a DCU project. It is going to be 7 episodes, 7 or 8 episodes, just less than 30 minutes each episode. It is an animated show, and it follows another one of the Task Force X teams.
Mm-hmm.
The concept appears to be that the Task Force X has been told they're not allowed to use human prisoners for their Suicide Squads anymore.
Yep.
So they decide to form a team of
Creatures.
monsters. Exactly. So you've got Frankenstein, Frankenstein's Bride,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of monsters. I forget
Weasel, who we have
yeah,
seen.
exactly, and who all else is involved. It looks very interesting. It looks like it'll be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
The action from the trailer has looked pretty brutal in places.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited for something fresh from DC.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we've obviously had the Matt Reeves stuff, but we've known that that's like its own world.
Yeah, that's what's going to be known as an Elseworlds project.
Yeah, and that's been nice to keep us tied on. And Penguin's been was we've loved Penguin, and that's been great.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I think it'll be nice to get the first proper look at this new DCU. We had high hopes after Blue Beetle because we knew that was sort of the vibe and was like hinting at the potential future. I think what we've seen of the trailer of this, it looks like it'll be a fun animated show. Like you say, the action looks really good. And this first look at some of these characters that obviously some will be more recurring than others,
Yeah,
but it'll be like obviously we know all the things are going to have their own vibe, but still all feel cohesive.
yeah,
So I still think this, though it'll be its own thing being animated, like I think it will give us a bit of an insight into like what we can expect from the DCU.
absolutely.
Do we know where if we can watch it easily yet?
No, a lot of what I'm seeing is people assuming that it will be taken on by Now TV and Sky as normal,
Yeah.
but they don't normally host animated projects.
Right.
So I'm not as convinced. If not, we will find a completely legal way to watch it. Because I'm not missing out on it. But
Yeah.
best believe if we do have to find a more difficult way of watching it, I will moan about that every single week and on Twitter because it is fucking insane that you're going to try and relaunch the DC universe
And it
and not
not
give
be
a fuck
globally.
about the
Yeah.
first project being available globally.
Yeah, it is definitely an oversight. Like, I get I get the idea to them is that Superman is probably their big kickoff, but like this should be available, like you say, should be globally available. This is kicking off the DCU, and you
Yeah,
make this available to everyone to get them more excited for this restart of the DCU and Superman.
I think and I'm not saying this is a valid counter argument, just so I'm clear. I think the counter argument from James Gunn has been they're not making the MCU here. It's not everything is connected and everything is a must watch. The idea of what they're going for is yes, it's all one universe, but you only have to watch the stuff you care about, which is great. It makes it more accessible for more people. However, I want to watch everything.
Yeah, that's fine saying that, but like
That doesn't
there's
mean it should be difficult to watch all the stuff.
yeah, there's you don't need to watch this, but also then making it so I can't watch it is like, what happens if there is then something that I should probably watch, but then I can't watch it? Like,
Exactly.
then you're causing
And
issues there.
and here's the thing: we know this wouldn't be a problem for a live action project. Once again, it bears down on the fucking brute of it all that animation is looked down on
Mm.
constantly, and I'm fucking sick of it. This
Which
project looks lit.
it
It looks
surprises me
the
because
writing is going to be good. We know the voice acting is going to be good. They're fun. It's going to be different. It's probably going to have some. Oh, that was a bit rough moments. It's going to have some moments that probably make you laugh. It's going to be probably a very solid project at the absolute worst. Why is it because it's animated over live action that it's so difficult to watch?
I don't know. And you'd think after the reception that like X-Men 97 got, that they would have seen. I know they're not trying to replicate the MCU or anything, but like this is still this. Your demographic is the same as the MCU. You've
Yeah.
seen how excited and how much they loved animated X-Men 97. Why are you not putting more effort into?
The only thing I can think to kind of take a little bit of the blame away from DC for a sec
Is not their choice.
is if their contract for UK distribution is with Sky,
And Sky's the one that's saying we don't want
and if
it.
Sky go, we're not going to air that, I don't know if within the contract they're allowed to then try and
Put it elsewhere.
sell it to Netflix. I don't know if it's a first refusal deal or it's a we own your distribution rights in the UK,
We pick and choose
so
what we want.
you give it to us and we'll decide whether we show it or not.
Yeah.
If that is the case, it's less their fault, but also get a better contract in place.
Stop using them. Yeah. Why are
Yeah,
we? Why are you
go to
still
them.
reliant
You
on
can
them?
absolutely have first refusal, but if you don't want it, we will then go off for Creature Commandos to Netflix or Prime Video or whoever.
Or like, I don't want to, but I'll pay for Paramount Plus if you start putting all your stuff on that.
Yeah, or just make Max available worldwide.
Which also doesn't make any sense considering they own Paramount Plus as well.
Yeah, like just
Yeah.
I know that we probably view big business as simpler than it is, but I'm absolutely convinced it's because the people doing big business are fucking morons. So get it sorted. I sit here. I'm very anti-capitalist. I'd like things to be better, but I do want to support art still. Stop making it so fucking difficult.
Mm.
On a more positive note, lots of interesting voice actors. First project under the new leadership that's really going to take a bit of shape. It will start. While I don't think many projects are going to be tonally identical because the whole idea of what they're trying to do is tell differently, it would be a good idea to get the kind of vibe of what James Gunn's DC projects are going to kind of look like.
Yes.
And it would just be fun to have more DC stuff coming off the back of the Penguin, which was so fun. If we can kind of go 2 for 2 on DC projects, with the Superman trailer coming out potentially later this year, I all of a sudden could be very much like bouncing off the walls in excitement for the DCU.
Yeah, I mean, this show Into the Superman trailer and then the film coming out will be and they'll know this, but this is the make or break for the relaunch. Like, they
Yeah,
need this to go well to kind of be like, okay, these extra side projects are going to be somewhat well received. They need Superman to hit the ground sprinting, because if that flops, then you're in deep trouble. If you can't nail Superman, you're just going to be struggling for the whole DCU. Um, so yeah, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. But
yeah, I completely agree.
I'm optimistic about this show.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think that's all we can be right now.
Yeah.
And hopefully the first episode will blow us away, and we'll be like, "Yeah, we're back." There's been a lot of news coming out from like the MCU and other IPs at the minute that have made us sit there and go, "Are we back? We might be back." I would like the first ECU project to knock my socks off and me just sit here going, "Oh, we are so back."
I
Comic
love
book
if
media
in the space
2.0.
of like 2 months we get Superman into Fantastic Four and they're both amazing.
Imagine, like, just for a minute, we are on the precipice of the traditional comic book superstars for each brand, being Superman and the Fantastic Four, releasing summer blockbusters that look to be based on set leaks and concepts and stuff that we've seen. They look to be not the, I hate this phrase, the MCUified comic book films we've come to expect. They look to have a bit of personality and a
Yep.
bit of flair to them.
Mm-hmm.
If they both stick the landing, I'm going to be on cloud fucking 9 next summer, going backwards and forwards to the cinema.
Oh, it'll be great, and it'll be what everyone's talking about is
It'll
the
be
fact
it'll
that
be one of them summers where your burgers taste a bit more burgery, your ice cream stays colder a little bit longer, your favorite side of your pillow stays colder for longer. Just one of them summers, and I need it.
that's called global warming.
Next up on the preview list,
Star
Skeleton Crew.
Wars. Back to the world of
Yeah.
Star Wars. We have 8 episodes with a double
Yes.
episode release, as
Yes.
Star Wars loves to do. I mean, I'm looking from the trailers. It looks fun. It looks like a different vibe from what we've seen before. I'm hopeful that it is good. I do worry about pacing because it's still only 8 episodes, and yes, Andor managed it, but that's been one out of how many shows.
I am aiming, apart from talking to you about it every week, to enjoy this show in a bubble. Twitter
Oh,
has
yeah.
ruined every Star Wars project I've tried to enjoy for about 2 years, just because of the most brain dead bullshit arguments every week. I am gonna actively just block accounts that are spewing negativity, mute accounts, whatever. And it's not because I want to live in a glass house of no like, but a lot of Star Wars discourse has got to the point now where it is not legitimate takes, it's just rage baiting. And I'm just
I
like, I need to be able to just sit here every
yeah.
week, verbalize my thoughts about this show with you, and then decide how I feel about the show. And I don't need, when I'm at work on like a Monday or Tuesday, to open Twitter to see people losing their fucking mind because the elephant style species is blue instead of green or whatever the fuck they're going to be angry about. I just want to enjoy this show because conceptually it looks fun, it looks
Mm-hmm.
different, and it's in the Star Wars universe, which is what I've said I want more of. So I just want to try and if I sit here every week and I'm like, I'm not sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay to
Yeah.
not like the show. I'm not going to rag on people who don't like the show. If your reaction every week is to get on social media and bitch and moan about how bad the show is, you need to get a job.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good at like my Twitter's pretty tame most of the time. I my only two concerns with this show, which has come from their other shows, is one is them leaning too heavy on Mando because it's in that time span. I hope to God they don't do a Book of Boba Fett here and bring Mando in the last like 2 episodes for some reason.
I want to like save them from the bad pirates that are like
Yeah,
appear to be the threat.
like I don't want to see Mando anywhere near this. I'm fine if it's a Mando side character, like the X-wing pilot guy who's the officer, or like someone who's like really not relevant but like would be in this area of the universe.
Yeah.
Or like I'm okay with that, but if you bring Mando in and make this Mando 4.5 or whatever, that's gonna ruin the show. It happened,
yes,
and
I agree.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think they learned their lesson from Book of Boba Fett, and I think this is far enough removed.
And I mean, let's also be clear. While it didn't help Book of Boba Fett was not good even without that. That was very much a final nail in the coffin.
No, but I think had they not done that and focused on a better story for both, like, but anyway, my other worry is because this is still in the Star Wars trilogy, like the Skywalker saga era. We know that they're scared of not using nostalgia. I worry that they bring back maybe a certain pirate character, or
would he be alive? Is he alive? Is Hondo alive?
I can't. I think
is
so.
Is it possible?
I think I looked this up. I think potentially. I can't remember.
He might be a bit old.
But like
I'd be okay with it. I don't care if canonically he should be dead. I want it. I didn't know I wanted it until he said that, but now I want it.
Here's my thing. I'm okay with them bringing someone. My worry is, like what happened with Acolyte, they bring someone in, whether they're younger, older, they say a line in a way that the fans then are like, this breaks canon because they've misread the line, of like misinterpreted the line, and it happens like on episode 2, so then they think, oh, this is never going to get resolved in the next 6 episodes, so this is now canonically wrong, and the same thing happens all over again. Like, I'm worried that they will do something like that, and I hope they prove me wrong. I hope this is far enough removed from everything and they just have fun with it, because it looks like it could be a lot of fun. But yeah, there's just some worries there of like things that they might do because we know the concerns that Star Wars is having internally, that then baits these rage fans into just dogging on the show for no reason.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I mean, here's the thing, and I cannot stress this enough. It is absolutely okay to not like something. We are not trying to be like a toxic positivity kind of where everything is valid and great. If something's bad, shit happens. Book of Boba Fett was uninteresting and boring. Yeah. Shit happens. And not everything is for everyone. What I will say is if you don't like something and other people do, it is wrong to try and shit on their parade.
Yes.
And that's where I kind of draw an issue. And it's still okay to go, oh, I'm not enjoying it for this reason, this reason, and this reason. Just screaming constantly, it's terrible, is not constructive.
Yeah, or just latching onto like one line and being, this breaks the entire canon of the original trilogy. It's like, no, it doesn't. Stop crying. Yes. Like, stuff exactly. Like that. It's
it all boils down to let people enjoy things. Mm-hmm. But just because you're letting people enjoy things doesn't mean you have to also enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, Horry and Josh would never make jokes about Starfield being shit knowing that I love it, because that would be yucking someone's yum, and they would never do that.
Hey, I would never do that. I would never do that if I didn't know you.
Yes, exactly. That is also another thing. You can absolutely shit talk one of your friends' favourite things. Let's be clear.
Let's be honest.
Just be a fucking human and know how to interact with somebody.
I will go on record and say, I don't actually really have too much of an opinion on Starfield.
You've not played enough to have an opinion. It's just funny to try and rage.
Haven't played it full stop, mate.
Yeah.
I like it is to bait you, and I also know from like watching enough of it that I know that I personally probably wouldn't enjoy it, so I've not tried it. But then I just amp that up to wind you up. But yeah,
Okay.
it's not like I'm on Twitter being like some random person like, "Oh my god, Starfield was a bit," and I'm like, "That is fucking shit. It's the worst MMORPG."
It's the meme you see all the time, isn't it? It's like, this is the worst thing I've ever read. Oh, why didn't you like it? I don't know, I haven't read it. It's like, what? Heh?
Yeah, it's
Engage with any kind of conversation with an open and honest heart is
mm-hmm.
the only advice I can give. But I'm excited for this. I've been saying I want Star Wars. The Star Wars universe is so interesting. I want them to try different styles of projects and different styles of
Mm-hmm.
stories. Going for like what feels like to me from the trailer like a Goonies
Yeah, I was gonna say
style
Goonies.
adventure. I'm kind of here for. Don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong. It might not be good. But it's one of them ones where I'm like, you deserve a chance just because you're doing what I've asked, which is to try something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, should we get into some nerdy news? We got some interesting bits this
We
week,
have got some interesting bits this week.
including what feels like the first bit of like straight up killer good Star Wars news.
Mm.
We have
Mm-hmm.
got an official bit of information about Visions season 3.
Yes, it is confirmed to be happening, and they
Yes,
gave us the list of the studios that are being
indeed they
included,
did.
all of which are anime studios.
So they are all anime studios this time, because obviously last time out we had like
Uh,
Aardman and like some more
so
abstract styles.
yeah, we the first what season one had anime studios and some kind of safe bet studios, I would
Yeah,
call it. And then the second season, they were like, we're going to go way more out there. They went global, and it was like
yeah.
literally studios from like all over the world. You had, like you said, we had Aardman, we had some proper unique styles of studios. This one with the like Vision season 3, they'd done, I presume it was Japanese, the text. And it's obviously they've chosen, like, okay, this season we're going to give it to all anime studios and have an anime vibe.
I do wonder if that means we're going to get like just one episode where they're like, fuck a story, we're just doing a 20-minute anime style
Fight
lightsaber
scene.
battle.
It
Yeah.
would not surprise me. Now, if I remember correctly, I think it was the. So we got a list of all the.
Yes. So the studios are David Production, Production IG, Trigger, Cinema Citrus, Kamikaze Duga, Wit Studio, Polygon Pictures, and Project Studio Q.
If I remember correct from when I looked it up, I hope I'm remembering this right. Kamikaze Duga was the one that did the black and white one
Oh,
from the
okay.
first one. Yes, I've just googled it again. So they were the one that did the Ronin Jedi that everyone fucking loved, and then it got
Yeah.
a comic made
Yeah.
because everyone loved it so much. So they're back again. There
I
was
think we could agree that is a fair decision to give them a
I
second episode.
um I think from them I would be more than okay for it to be set in the same art style, same universe, just new story, but like they start building this like samurai world out a bit. Even if
Yeah.
it's a follow on, like I'm okay. Like just we loved it so much. Have some more fun in that world that they were creating.
Yeah, make this a very far away universe from the main Star Wars universe where very far in the future a couple of people settled out there
Mm-hmm.
and they've got a lot of similar technology, but cultures evolve differently. It doesn't have to be a problem.
What I forget which other one it is, but the twins episode in that first
Oh, that was
season
such a good episode as well.
is also one of these studios.
Awesome. So we've
Might
got
have
a couple
been,
of familiar faces back.
yeah. Now a lot of people will know Trigger,
I
because
recognised it, but I'm not a big anime head, so I have no
they
reference point.
were the studio that started Attack on Titan
Got ya, but they
and
didn't
did,
finish it.
I think, 3 seasons. Then Mappa took it over, and Mappa's
Okay.
like the fucking king of anime at the moment. Like they've taken on so many big IPs. If I think I'm getting that correct or close enough, like Trigger is did Attack on Titan at the beginning. I am excited for that one because like Attack on Titan's incredible. Um, there's one of them has done Evangelion, which is like a mech anime.
Got ya.
I would love a Jedi versus mechs. That could be really fucking cool.
Yeah.
There's like these are all pretty solid anime studios that we could get some really, like you say, if one of these does like a 20 minute just anime fight scene, could be incredible.
I've said it a couple of times. Visions is the most reliable project that
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars has right now as an IP.
Yeah.
Because the biggest issue Star Wars is having is it's struggling to make anything
Mm-hmm.
because of internal anxiety, business decisions, 12 million reasons, I'm sure. Because Visions gets rid of the big anxiety of making it and also the story of it, that it gets rid of all. It's like, okay, here is our IP. You're allowed to use lightsabers. You're allowed to use whatever you want. No one cares if it's canon or not. Make something cool. And
Yeah.
because they literally just like release it and they're like, ah, phenomenal. Because you're letting artists do what artists do
Yeah.
best. And no, not every episode is going to be to your taste. But that's kind of the beauty of it.
Mm. Do you
Not
know?
every episode will be good for you. But
Do you
one
know?
episode, at least, you'll be
Yeah.
like, oh
Well,
my god,
that's
this
what we
is the
say.
greatest thing ever.
Some of them are like we always have our favorite episodes, and then some are just like not hitting for us, but they're still great like episodes.
Exactly.
I'm so down for them doing this whole like season 3's anime studios. I'd love if next season like they do a season 4 and it's like all stop motion stuff.
Oh, that'd be so
Like
cool.
Aardman, you get like a Lego Star Wars one where they use like the mix of CG and stop motion. Like there's a bunch of other studios that still doing stop motion stuff, but like this idea of having a bit of a theme to the seasons, I think, with the studios could be quite cool.
Yeah,
Like,
there's definitely some value to it.
yeah. And we've said
I
it plenty of times, like we want a Marvel version of this. It'd be
Yeah,
so
I've
good.
said for the longest time, what if is built to be Visions? You
Yeah.
go, here are, and like I said, Marvel can write the scripts if they want to. You write 30 fucking scripts, you send them out to a bunch of studios and go, tell us which one you want to do, give us like a scene out of it, like storyboarded so we know how your style would look in it. And
Yep.
then we'll tell you which one you're doing, and then we'll come back in and we'll release 10 of them every year for the next 12 million years. You
Yeah.
get unique what if stories that you're not going to get to tell anywhere else, accompanied with the unique what if style, which adds to just the artistic value of it. And then you've got a series that very quickly becomes like a if you know series where everyone's like, oh, you're not watching What If? Oh, couldn't be me. Like, it's literally there for the taking. I actually find it incredibly disrespectful that of all of the IPs Disney own, Star Wars are doing What If better than Marvel.
Yeah, which is it's so confusing to me that, and we're hoping that they've said the season 3 is the end of this little trilogy. Hopefully that is them.
I'm desperate.
I'm desperate for the fact that they'd started this and they have to finish it, even though that then Visions started coming out and they're like, ah shit, we should have been doing that, but we're gonna finish this out and then we can restart it and do it.
If they do end What If with, I mean, like, if obviously we know What If is ending with season 3. If they then reboot it next year in the Vision style, I will never shut up about the fact that it was our idea and Marvel owe us a check. I know it will never come, but I will never let you forget. This one is in the news, but it's more of a question than news, but it's kind of news. Okay. Stick with me. So we discussed it briefly a long time ago, but Mr. Beast is obviously doing Beast games on Prime Video.
Yeah.
And last year, the Sidemen had a Netflix documentary.
Yeah.
And in the last week or so, they've announced that their game show that they did last year called Inside, which was kind of like an I'm a Celebrity Big Brother show,
right,
is going to be moving on to Netflix going forward, with Inside Season 2 being on Netflix and Inside USA going to being created for Netflix. are the digital age creators, your YouTubers, finally becoming the mainstream? For a long time, they've sat outside the mainstream, and no one's really broken onto the mainstream consistently. We've got some people who've made it like presenters, but a lot of the time, the presenters who are also decently big on like YouTube or something, that kind of happened together, not one then the other. Is this breaking down? I don't think it's breaking down the final wall, but is it breaking down another wall of content creators being a bigger part of mainstream media?
I think somewhat yes. I think it's also partly we're seeing content creation is from these big groups like Mr. Beast, The Sidemen, Kai Cenat with his live streams. We're seeing this shift in the kind of content is almost now reaching it's a planned entertainment project, and it's shifting almost closer to what mainstream entertainment content is, like the Inside being like Big Brother. It's more YouTubers have realized, oh, we can make what's like your more traditional like shows format, but we can do it ourselves. And now they're
Better.
going, well, and but more, not even necessarily better, just like they have more relevant to their audiences. So it's like, and because the younger audiences are more paying attention to them. And then I think it's kind of this meeting in the middle point of like mainstream media is looking for like they need new shows, and they're
So
realizing,
do you think
oh,
it's less another barrier is broken down and more mainstream media's realise they can't keep ignoring these people?
yeah, I think it's more like they've realized, oh, audiences are watching these people make shows that we used to make, but they're having it over there. Why don't we're not getting that viewership now? Why don't we just bring them in to make the shows that we used to
I mean,
make like
yeah. I mean, every network has its reality show, doesn't it? Like Channel
yeah
4 was Big Brother, ITV's been I'm a Celebrity.
yeah
You have like Survivor in every fucking country has their own version
yeah
of Survivor. So I guess it kind of makes sense for Netflix, who I know they've had like Too Hot to Handle and stuff, but that's never going to beat out Love Island and stuff like that.
hmm,
So I do kind of see why they go right. Inside, I don't know, I don't think you watched Inside, but
no
Inside was a very unique spin on this kind of locking people in a building. So the concept was there's £1 million on the line,
mm-hmm,
but you can lose money as a group.
right,
So like it's basic meals, but you can upgrade your meal and it'll cost like 5 grand.
got you,
And like one guy last year had a pillow that he couldn't sleep without. They took his pillow when he came in and they put it in the shop for 10 grand. So it's like if you want your pillow back, you've got to pay 10 grand for it.
got
And
you,
if you fuck up on challenges, you can lose money. So it's like if you guys all lock in, the winner's walking away with £1 million.
hmm,
But if you fuck about, you might only leave with 5 grand.
got you,
Which is a unique spin.
yeah,
I see why Netflix, who already have a working relationship with the Sidemen after a documentary, were
hmm,
like, that show did phenomenally well. You guys have only got bigger in the last year. I mean, they sold out Wembley in 2
yeah,
hours. Why don't you come and put that on our platform? You'll not have to pay out as much of the cost. I like it's never easy, and I personally am a bit scared of larger media companies getting too involved in the creator ecosphere because although it's a lot bigger and a lot more commercial than it used to be, it still is largely controlled by creators.
oh yeah, and I mean that then comes to the creators have to play their own game there, because it's like
Yeah.
it's up to like you can have we've seen it where creators bridge that gap and then lose their audience because they then shift away from what they were as what people related to as a creator. So yeah,
what I guess what I want is I want more people to have a more of a like a Markiplier approach. Like his recent project he did
Hmm.
was originally with big partners, but they wanted him to change things and kind of lose creative control a little bit. He was like, I'll do it myself, don't worry.
Yeah.
And then he did it himself, and it's been massive, and they're probably all kicking themselves in the head now for trying to fight him on it. So as long as like creators go with that approach of right, this is what I want to do. If you guys want to get involved in it,
Mm-hmm.
sweet. But if you try and push it a different direction, I will bounce and do it myself anyway.
I do also think the Sidemen thing is Netflix's answer to Prime Mr. Beast. Like
Absolutely.
these streaming services are constantly competing, so it's like Prime got Mr. Beast, Netflix is like, fine, we'll get the Sidemen because they're like two huge brands on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So
Anyway, very interesting.
yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Stay tuned for the cutscene late night talk show. I heard we're taking James Corden's spot.
No, we'll do some version
Right.
of Hot Ones.
Oh, that'd be so much fun. Imagine we could have so much fun. Does anyone want to give me loads of money to spend making fun content? Because I'll fucking do it. I will spend all of your money. Um, Deadline has reported that Daniel Craig, known for James Bond, Knives Out, and Layer Cake, in case anyone doesn't know who Daniel Craig is in talks to star as Sergeant Rock for DC Studios, which will be directed by Luca Guadagnino. I feel like I butchered that pronunciation. I can only apologise. Who directed Challengers, Call Me by Your Name, and this year Queer, which also stars Daniel Craig. This is a nothing burger announcement. I know nothing about Sergeant Rock. I'm not going to pretend
Yeah,
I
I was
do.
like,
He's a World War II DC character. He seems to maybe be a bit interesting. I've not looked into him too much. I'm not going to pretend I know who he is. Like, oh my god, they're finally doing this. Not a clue. What I will say is, getting a director who's done a lot of smaller projects. I know Challengers was massive, but in general has done a lot of smaller projects. The a lot of them thematically seem to be kind of around identity and relationship with like Challengers and Queer and Call Me by Your Name. To do a comic book movie makes me more excited that we are getting what I've been asking for, which is this idea of comic book isn't a genre.
yep.
This falls right into that.
Yeah, I mean, so Challenges I know has been loads of people said that has been is an incredible film.
Yeah.
So I mean, from that alone, I'm like, okay, he's a solid pick for a director.
Yeah,
This could be
he can make a
interesting.
fucking film. Like although we haven't seen Challengers, the footage of Challengers that I've seen and some of the things I know they did in that film shows that he's got a creative mind, if nothing else.
Sergeant Rock, I quickly looked him up, and like you say, he's a soldier from World War II. I mean, the image from the comics, I'm like, I could see Daniel Craig. He's getting a bit more kind of ruggedy as he's getting older.
Yeah.
We've seen him in James Bond. Like, we know he can play that spy soldier pretty well. I think this character has links to like Suicide Squad and stuff like that. So who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
he's a great pick. I'd love if Daniel Craig gets into DC. Not going to complain. He's a great actor.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the reason I got so excited by this is literally it falls into that category of comic books aren't a genre; they are like a style of character. You can tell any story you want from a comic book world. Like there is no reason you couldn't do a Superman film or a Batman film and have the Superman film be a fucking rom-com and have the Batman film be a fucking horror film and then both still be great films that are true to the IP of Batman and Superman. This is one of them ones that I'm like, okay, I'm not excited by the project because I don't know anything about it, but I'm excited by what it could mean for what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so excited. And also, like I said, they are big names who are good at what they do, which means that it gives it a good chance of being a success at trying something new.
Yeah, and you've also got to think like, if this is a success, this director will be then potentially recurring pick for James Gunn to be like, oh, this project will suit you really well.
Yeah, exactly. And once again, if James Gunn does try and pull off this comic book isn't a genre's a genre, I will also be claiming more checks from DC.
Or just like a role.
Yeah, no, just get me in a fucking meeting room. I will give me 3 weeks to prepare, and I will come in with something that will convince you to pay me. I will. Collider have claimed that the Superman trailer will be releasing mid-December. Other outlets are kind of backing this, and they're saying that the trailer's going to start airing in cinemas along with Mufasa the Lion King, which is due to start airing, I believe, on December 15th.
I mean, I'm still in my copium prediction of
Yeah.
the most we get is a teaser, and then we get the real trailer at the Super Bowl.
What I will say is if they go big dick enough to go, we're going to do cinema-only trailers for a while, we might go back to like 60s, 70s, 80s style when like the second Star Wars were coming out and the only way you could see a trailer was at the cinema, where people were going to see another film just to buy a ticket for see the trailer and then leaving.
Do you know, we can do that for Craven.
That's evil. But yeah, like that would actually be kind of a hype way to start the marketing. It's like Mufasa the Lion King has sold a lot of tickets, but no one's seen the film. Why do we think this is? Oh, you see the Superman trailers playing, and I had to go see it because it's not anywhere yet. Like that would actually be kind of hype.
It would, but in this day and age, it wouldn't last long.
Someone's just going to record it and put it on YouTube. Yeah. This is a really feel-good story that I couldn't not include.
Yeah, I hadn't heard this.
Actor Cillian Murphy and artist Javon McGinnis have bought a closed-down cinema in Ireland that closed in 2021, and they plan to reopen it. The married couple have said they are reopening it for the community because it's important.
It's great. I mean,
this is the shit we've discussed before. I would love to just open a cinema.
Like one of them lived near this cinema or something? It's like
they
have a connection to that way, or is it just that they've found out about it and thought?
So it's the Phoenix Cinema. I don't know if that is.
They have any connection to it?
Yeah, I don't know if they have any connection to it or if it's a particularly important one. It's in Kerry. It was built in 1919, so it probably has some historic significance, I'm going to guess. Something that's that old as a cinema is going to be one that's at some point was important to the film industry in the country. So I imagine that's part of it. It's like it'd be like losing a really old pub or something, wouldn't it? You'd be like, oh, well, that's absolutely sucks. I hope someone comes in and saves it.
Oh, Cillian Murphy's from Cork, so not the same place.
But yeah, it's fucking awesome that they're making sure a piece of film history in the country doesn't die. They're going to save it. They're going to reopen it.
You know for a fact that they're making a Peaky Blinders movie, aren't they?
Yeah.
Premiere at his own cinema.
That would be awesome. But this is exactly what, like, and don't get me wrong, these are not two people who are rich enough that I'm like in the eat them category. I think of the like eat the rich, I think I actually have quite a high ceiling despite how liberal I am. I think there should be like a benefit of how much eat the rich are allowed if you're spending your money for shit like this. We have spoken about this before. This is the kind of shit I want to do if I'm ever even reasonably rich. I want to open a cinema. I want to have a little card so that only like people are going to be respectful and not take pictures of the cinema screen. Wicked viewers, I've seen you on Twitter. To come and just enjoy cinema. Like, it's fucking awesome. This is such a feel-good story. I love it when people do good things.
Yeah, for sure.
Animation Guild have come to a tentative 3-year agreement with studios that is apparently going to offer some protections against AI and stuff.
Yeah, we talked on this a while back that they were threatening
this has been a pretty ongoing one.
Threatening to strike. They wanted to sit down and have talks because obviously the Actors Guild had their talks, the Writers Guild had done theirs. They felt it was their turn. Yeah, so I mean, it's great for them that they're getting AI protection in place, especially for the animators.
So crucially important. The next big one is CG artists.
Yeah,
That needs to get over the line and soon. I mean, they don't even have a union at the minute. They need to just unionize full stop.
yeah. I think you need to get the VFX and CGI, like all that needs to kind of come together somehow. But
Absolutely. And with animation, although it's still not broken through some of the stigma, but racing to the front of people treating it with a lot more respect in the last 3 or 4 years via stuff like Invincible and Arcane
yes,
and Spider-Verse and the Wild Robot and stuff like that, showing that animation isn't just a kids thing, but rather it's a legitimate way of telling a story to add something to it. I think it's even more important that they go out there and get their protections and respect so that they can keep doing what they do so fucking well.
yeah, for sure.
Now, I know this is something I've spoken about a few times that you don't particularly care about yet. Christopher Nolan is cooking something, and I'm keeping a close fucking eye on
I
this
wouldn't say I
kitchen.
don't care about, like, clearly
It's just
the
so
man
far
is-
away for you, isn't it?
the thing is that this man is stacking.
Yeah, it's getting fucking more insane by the day.
Yeah.
But I shit you not, I scrolled past a tweet when I was like checking up on the weekly news. I was like, that gets updated again a few days later. I'm not gonna write down the names yet.
Like this stuff, like when it came out that Christopher Nolan's next film was going to have Matt Damon, everyone's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like he's obviously got a plan. Matt's like his main actor or something that he's picked.
Yeah.
Then it was Zendaya and Tom Holland, and I'm like, smart move. He's getting like the most popular couple at the moment in
It's just
Hollywood.
getting more insane by the day. Like we've got the Peter Nagonye, who was in obviously in Black Panther, but more recently in A Quiet Place Day One.
Yeah.
Phenomenal actress. Charlize Theron, absolute goat of the fucking scene.
Mm-hmm.
Anne Hathaway, famous Arsenal fan. Go on, Anne, love you. And then Robert Pattinson, who has worked with him before on Tenet, and gifted him the book that led to Oppenheimer being made.
Yeah.
Is coming back, which got people very nervous about the Batman 2. Apparently, we have no reason to be nervous.
Yeah, I mean,
but what a cast!
Yeah, I'm because
I
this
think
isn't like Christopher Nolan's last film, is it?
No. As far as I know, there is at least 3 Oscar winners in this cast. Matt Damon, Charlize Theron, and Anne Hathaway, I'm pretty sure all have Oscars. Now, I think Matt Damon's might be for writing, not for acting. Still, it's a fucking Oscar. I don't know what the fucking concept of this film is. I don't know when it might be about. I know there's been some rumors that it might be like a vampire film.
Interesting.
But what the fuck?
This is the next Blade film.
Honestly, there definitely were rumors it was a vampire film. So I remember losing my mind about Spider-Man and Christopher Nolan making a vampire film before Blade even gets out. But like, this cast is fucking ridiculous, and I can't not be excited for this film.
Do you know who this needs now? You just need like Ian McKellen or something. Like some older, hard hit.
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
That kind of vibe.
Just some, like, it's a wild.
Freeman, Denzel.
It almost feels like a cast is putting together the fact this is my final film, even though he's not saying that.
No, it's crazy. I'm very, very excited to see what ends up coming out of this because people are going to be acting like Rent is due, and I cannot wait.
It's gonna be good.
And now to end on a sour note, because I wrote this down in chronological order. The Atlantic has released an article that reports that more than 139,000 film and TV scripts have been used to train AI, including The Simpsons, The Wire, The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, and all films nominated for major awards from like 1950 something to 2016. How is this legal? How do you get away with this?
Loopholes, because there is no law against it.
Like, let me be completely clear. I've never written anything worth a damn. Hopefully one day that'll change. Hopefully. Maybe. But as of right now, not written anything worth a fucking damn. People, like, Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, The Wire have won. I mean, The Simpsons have
Mm.
won so many awards. Literally every film nominated for a major film award has been thrown into this.
Mm-hmm.
And what, it's just been used to train some chatbot that can't even work out how to do 2+2 without burning down an entire square mile of the fucking rainforest. And has been released in another article, which I forgot to include because it wasn't relevant until I've just realised it was relevant. A lot of AI training models are using basically slave labour in third world countries to train the AI models as well.
That don't surprise me.
If you use AI, you are being unethical at this point.
Well, it's just it's wild to me that the things AI are being used for are the things that are generally only ever good because they have some human connection to them, i.e.,
Exactly.
all the artistic things. I get it. You want AI to help you draft a cover letter for a job because you're sick of writing cover letters to 1,000 job offers and not hearing anything. I get that. Fine. Use AI to write that. It's going to do a fine job. Getting AI to write a script is just like people love films because someone put some connection they have into that story. And then the actors did the same. And like replacing that shit with AI, it's just like people say it with, I've been saying constantly, like, we're just going to end up with soulless, artistic. There's going to be like, you're going to look through art history in like the future, and there's going to be a period of just like some term for the soulless era where
It's,
AI art was taking over for a little
it's
while.
the creative dark ages.
And then you're going to get the era after that is almost like a punk era of rebelling against that.
Yeah.
So I
I,
think
I try not to be like a dramaticist or anything. Like, I know it might not seem like it, but I try not to be too dramatic. I genuinely sit here like, imagine like, like the tell me about the war grandpa jokes and stuff. Tell me about the time when the world was creative grandpa. Like, like, what the fuck?
tell me about
I
the
am a creative person. I have a million ideas a fucking minute, and I am unfortunate enough to not have the time to find a creative avenue that really allows me to fully express that, be it drawing, painting, writing, whatever.
mm,
But that creative is innate to my soul. You cannot make art without a fucking soul. AI doesn't have a soul. It can never have a soul. All it can do is poorly imitate a million fragments of people's souls and put them together. The joke is give an infinite amount of monkeys, an infinite amount of typewriters, an infinite amount of time, they'll write Shakespeare. The point there isn't that Shakespeare is valueless because of it. The point is that Shakespeare is so unique that it would take literally forever with all of the resources to be able to imitate it.
you've also
Like, that's the point.
like people love The Simpsons because they love Matt Groening's style of what it's like. People love like Christopher Nolan's films because he has a specific style. AI is just gonna like mesh a bunch of shit together, and you're just gonna be like, this doesn't feel like anyone. And then you're gonna there's just gonna be this era where I think ultimately it will not succeed because I do think it will just it'll kind of become rebellious to be like, oh, I'm gonna go see that film that's made by a person, and like the money will shift back to art created by people because that's what people care about going to see.
Do you know what I think the big problem right now is? I think in a genuinely creative way, a lot of people do agree that AI is bad.
Hmm.
The problem is the amount of people who will go, AI is unethical, blah, 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 and then go and use AI to make a dumb fucking meme for Twitter. It's like, no, you can't go, AI is bad, we need to avoid using it so they don't think we want it.
Hmm.
Oh, but let me just use it to make this funny meme real quick. I know it's really difficult to just kind of go, you have to completely not use something, but let's be fucking clear. 2 years ago, you couldn't really use AI for anything. It's not like I'm asking you to go back before the internet existed and not Google something. What I'm asking is stop using, when you go on Google to a Google search, put minus AI at the end of your query, and
Yeah.
it will get rid of anything that is AI generated. And if you don't think that Google will notice, loads of people are going, I don't want any fucking AI, you're brain dead. Google will notice that
Yeah,
shit.
Google tracks everything.
Exactly. Like, you can't, it is impossible to use AI ethically right now. And I get on a base level, like using it to write like a cover letter is like not a big deal. But the problem is the way
Yeah.
the AI is being trained and where it's getting its information from is unethical. So utilizing it in any way is still unethical. And I'm
Wait,
not moaning at people who didn't realize before today, but the second you realize, it's got to be a no, fuck that.
I do think laws will come in. I hope that they are the right ones, and I think that then kills it in the way it's
Deepfakes
being used.
started being a thing in 2008, and deepfake laws only really started to kick in about 2-3 years ago.
Oh yeah, it's going to take a while,
And that
unfortunately.
was considered fast.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are going to live through an era of it.
Yeah,
I just hope we live long enough to see the other side of it.
yeah. I'm very. I don't know. Sometimes I don't like getting too worked up on here, um, because I'm like, does it matter? But at the same time, I'm like, this is being human. You're passionate about things. Shit happens. Um, but if you work at one of these companies that are scraping YouTube videos and TV and everything you can get your fucking hands on for your shitty I hope nothing but bad things for you. It's that simple. Um, Sucks to end on a sour note like that, but remember,
It's the
Killian
news.
Murphy and Yvonne McGuinness protecting artistic
Cinemas.
heritage, and that is
Yes.
something worth celebrating. That's all from us. We'll see you next time.
See you next week.